For more on President Xi's visit to Africa and the China-Africa Summit, I'm joined by Michael Clyne. He's a senior analyst at Drum Cussac. Well, let's start there. This information superhighway, just one of the things they're talking about. It's pretty remarkable what's going on. There are going to be representatives from 50 African countries, mainly heads of state. The Chinese president is there. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi is saying that this will be the cornerstone of improved future relations. Just how important is this gathering?
This is the largest gathering so far of the Chinese-Africa Economic Forum, and it comes at a pivotal moment when we're experiencing the so-called Chinese chill, which was when China kind of diverted from a depreciated its currency to drive towards a more consumer-driven economy. And that's really shifting its relationship with Africa. Its influence is more apparent than ever, but also the dependency and kind of one-way model of that relationship is just as dependent as we see certain African countries who have grown commodity dependent on their relationship with China really crash economically. But there's still a lot of room to be made in terms of major infrastructure development projects like this information superhighway that are funded almost entirely by a debt burden on Africa. In some cases, that comes in the form of concessionary loans with special or low interest rates in part of a bilateral agreement to exploit more resources from some of these countries. But overall, for the past decade or so, or since 2009, when China became the largest trading partner with Africa, it's proven to be a positive development model, at least for the continent on a whole. But it's seeing where that model or relationship goes after China's pivot economically. That will be just as important.
Well, let me ask you about that. Do you see the influence growing then, or probably staying static?
The influence is going to stay the same. In fact, it's spreading just from the economic model that I was just alluding to political, where China's getting involved in building political capacity with African nations, to security and being involved in peacekeeping operations. But it is, and in those instances, actually, you see somewhat that it's a two-way influence, although it's heavily weighted on one end. You see China, delving into certain doctrines that it would never explore internally or in the Asian sphere. But economically, you're going to see the influence model change a bit from kind of these large exploitive FDI contracts or foreign direct investment to a shift towards exploiting Africa's low labor costs and high productivity as China looks to shift some of its own manufacturing and industry off of its continent where wages have gotten too high. And that still has some very positive influence potential with driving wages and capacity and kind of higher value investment up in Africa itself.
Michael Clyne joining us from New York City. Thank you.